Everybody is filing in. Those numbers are shooting up. Super excited that you're here joining us for the ANSI ISEA Z358.1 Shower and Eyewash Compliance Master Class. Okay, this is not a webinar, this is a master class. Today, I'm going to cover some very interesting topics. We're going to cover the standard. We're going to have fun. I'm going to leave you with resources that will be useful to you. And the main thing that I want is for you to find this as useful as possible. So me and my team here at Haws have worked very hard to ensure that this is going to be engaging and that hopefully you really glean from this exactly what it is that you need from a compliance standpoint, information standpoint, and we'll leave you with some very useful resources. So welcome. Thank you for being here. To get started, number one, I want to make sure that you understand that you can ask questions. Please utilize, so there's a little box right up there in the tippy top right-hand corner, a little square with a question mark in it. That right there is for questions. The one next to it is the chat. You're welcome to throw information in there, but we'll probably gauge the questions box first to gather questions for the end of the webinar. I'll have a whole section dedicated to covering questions that you have submitted and that have been submitted to us. I'm very excited about that. That's one of my favorite parts. We had some that were pre-submitted that we'll sprinkle in as well. Now, I won't be able to get to all the questions. Okay, there are usually quite a bit, and some of your questions are quite complicated. Those are my favorite. But if you find yourself at the Q&A and I don't answer your question, I am going to take time immediately after this webinar to scramble, put together a document, and I'm going to answer every single one. And I'm going to put it in an Excel spreadsheet, and I'm going to share it with you. So please make sure you submit those questions, get them in there. I'll either address it directly or I'll include it in that document and share it with you after. Also, this is recorded. This webinar will be on demand and available to you through a link in the follow-up email as quickly as we can after the presentation. So we aim for about 24 to 48 hours, but the faster we can get that information to you, the better. We want you to have those tools in your hand and all of this information fresh on your mind. So we will get that out to you as quickly as possible. Also, if you're ever interested in additional videos from Haws, starring yours truly, just go to Haws YouTube and you can find our channel there. And there are so many videos with answers about compliance, products, and things of that nature that I will hope you will find incredibly useful. We'll also launch a couple poll questions. There's 5 total throughout the presentation. We greatly appreciate your participation in those. Those really help us to continue to improve this product, to gauge our content and our focus based on your needs, and to keep a finger on the pulse of what it is that you got going on and to continue to help you. There will also be a survey in that follow-up, and I'll get you I'll buy coffee for you. So just a $5 Starbucks gift card just for a quick participation in the survey so that we can quickly gauge your needs and what you found useful, what you didn't find useful, etc., and so on. So your participation also greatly appreciated there. My name is Justin Dunn. I am the Field Marketing Manager here at Haws. I have 2 jobs here, and it's to do all the talking and to know stuff. And I do both of those pretty well. I have been here for going on 12 years here soon. I am an expert in the Z358.1 compliance and many other safety standards, as well as just site safety and so on. So I'm excited to share my knowledge on the standard and insights as we progress through the presentation. With me is my amiga, my partner in crime, and I'll have her introduce herself real quick.
Hello, thank you for that wonderful introduction, mi amigo. Hi, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. I'm Samantha Bozen, the product content coordinator here at Haws. I've been with the company for about 3 years now. I've dabbled in customer service, marketing, and I coordinate all the content for our products. I'm really excited to get into all things compliance today.
Samantha is also becoming almost just as dangerous as I am with this standard, so an excellent resource for answers to questions. To cover the agenda, we're going to cover what is the ANSI ISEA Z358.1-2014 R2020 standard. We're going to cover the significant requirements of the standard. And not only that, I wanted to tell you what's in the standard, but some of the insight that I want to share with you is how to test for those things, what to look for, what you might miss, and things of that nature. Best practices for emergency equipment. We have been doing this for a very long time. Haws is 120 years old this year. That's a huge birthday for us as a company. We're very excited about it. But also, we have had emergency equipment since 1950. We have been doing this for a very long time. And we have some insights that we think we will find incredibly useful on what to do and what not to do. We'll leave you with some resources for helping to achieve compliance on site, and then we'll end with the Q&A, and I'll get as many as I possibly can live on the webinar. So let's dive into it. What is the Z358.1-2014 standard? Okay. This is an incredibly useful document, and it is used in many places around the world. It is not just here. Our friends up north, Canada, much of South America, India, other places around the world utilize the Z358.1 standard. There's also a European standard, 15154, that they utilize as well. Now, OSHA, most people should be familiar with OSHA. That's the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Most countries also have that in some way, shape, or form is an OSHA. But they are responsible for helping to maintain and regulating emergency shower and eyewash facilities. Their standard is 29 CFR 1910.151C. You can find that in the medical services and first aid section. And this is it. This is the whole thing on the screen. That's all of it from beginning to end. And it tells me I need an eyewash. I need a safety shower. And it tells me that I might have employees or I might myself be exposed to injurious corrosive materials, and I have to have suitable facilities. But it doesn't tell me how that's supposed to function. Where's it supposed to go? How is it supposed to be activated? All of those things are not included in this standard. Therefore, the Z358.1 standard is our source for compliance with 29 CFR 1910.151C. That is that relationship there. Now, adherence to Z358.1 does a couple things for you in your facility, very important things. One, it helps, of course, to reduce injuries and fatalities, okay? Greatly reducing the amount of time that you're going to spend in the hospital, lowering the likelihood that you would need skin grafts and things of that nature, getting proper first aid immediately, okay? Lowers general workplace risk, which is the goal. We want to show up, we want to paycheck, we want to make equipment, we want to dedicate ourselves to this job, but we want to do so safely, right? And there's a promise there. I promise to show up and you promise to keep me safe. That's that relationship. Now, it also helps to prevent lost time and lost money for both the employee and the employer, right? If there is an incident on site, you are very likely getting a visit from OSHA. And if that employee was seriously harmed or the emergency equipment did not work properly, there's a high likelihood that there will be some form of litigation in the future, which is costly for both parties. And we can help to prevent that by providing properly functioning emergency equipment. Now, OSHA has also stepped up enforcement, particularly for employers who have a history of serious or repeated violations, two of the most serious violations. On August 1st, 2016, after a long period of not adjusting fines, they increased their fines for the first time since 1990 by 80%, which was a gigantic, very scary jump. However, now effective January 2nd, 2018, those fines will increase 2% year over year to account for inflation as needed. So you won't see any gigantic jumps again in the future, hopefully. This is all public information. This, you can go to OSHA, you can go to their website, you can look up penalties, findings, and things of that nature. That is all public. Now, this is just a quick example. I wanted to give you an array of different penalties, what they look like, what kind of facilities are included, because you could find an eyewash at your local dentist office, all the way up to a nuclear facility. Anything and everything in between typically has some sort of hazard, and eye washes, safety showers, and etc. It is a almost universally presence at work. So you can see many different types of penalties here, from small to large, and that mostly depends on how many times OSHA had to shake their finger at you. If it's once, it's pretty low, and they say jump and you say how high and start moving, that's great. If you ignore OSHA, that is where the big ones come in, and that's a no-no. So just to give you a quick example. Now, the standard itself is written by the ISEA, that's the International Safety Equipment Association, and they define the emergency shower and eyewash design, its location, temperature requirements, all for proper functionality and usage. OSHA, again, references that standard during site inspections, violation reporting, and it is the recognized source of guidance to comply with their own standard. That's why we pay so much attention to this. Okay. There's me looking majestic in a shower. That's pretty cool. ANSI. So the standard itself, first published in 1981. So it has been around a very long time. Okay. It was revised in 1990, 98, 2004, 2009, and 2014. You can see many of the revisions that were included in the last two revisions of the standard. And you can look forward to changes coming soon to the standard. We're very excited to hear about news potentially later this year about upgrading the standard. And when that happens, we will be here as a source for information and compliance for you. So look forward to that. But a lot of those changes focused on meaningful things for the victim: temperature range for water delivery, eye testing requirements, design, manufacture, and installation, and things of that nature. Now, I want to get into the significant requirements of the standard line by line, and I want to cover how to test for those things. But first, I want to launch poll question number 1, please.
Alrighty, first poll question of the day. Get your clickers ready, everyone. How often do you test equipment? Please do not answer if not applicable. And your choices are yearly, monthly, weekly, unsure, or do not test. Thank you guys very much for all the participation. I always like to see what percentage of people we get votes on. All right, beautiful. I'll give you guys a few more seconds to wrap it up. Loving all the responses. All righty, everyone. I'll go ahead and end this poll. Thank you very much.
Looks like weekly wins it, which is good news. And that brings us to testing. So weekly testing versus annual inspections. Okay, these are two different things. Both are required, and both are very important for different reasons. Okay, so the first thing I want to cover is weekly testing. Okay, now for plumbed emergency equipment, like you see here in the photo, right? We have a shower, we have an eye face wash. The emergency equipment has to be activated weekly. This is really important. Our primary goal is step 2 here, which is ensuring that we have flow to each of the heads of the device. So if there's a shower, you have to activate the shower. If there's an eye wash, you have to activate the eye wash. Okay. If it's a combo like this, you can't just activate the eye face wash real quick. Yeah, there's water and walk away. There's a goal here, and that goal is that the duration of this activation, it needs to be sufficient enough to clear out the dead leg. Okay, the supply line. Luckily for me, in this photo, the dead leg coming out there is that the water heater is not too far away from behind the wall there. So the shower will do it really quick, completely clear that out. It doesn't take very long. But some of the dead legs that you'll find out there are quite long, and you'll need to pay attention to how long that is and activate these for a sufficient enough time to clear it out. Otherwise, we risk contamination in the supply line, bacterial growth, and things of that nature. Now, if the equipment is portable, non-plumbed, the steps are very simple. It is just a visual inspection. You do not need to activate portable, non-plumbed equipment. You need to visually inspect that the tank has enough water in there. It is meeting the manufacturer's guidelines for how much water should be in there. Sign the test tag, make sure there's nothing amiss. I like to just do a once over, make sure everything's in place. But that's it. You're making sure there's enough water in there for 15 minutes, sign the tag, and walk away. That is all that is required from portable equipment on a weekly basis. Now, I know you're asking yourself, but Justin, what happens if I don't test? That's a great question, guys. And I really appreciate it. This is what's going to happen. These are some of the funner examples I have found out there in the field. You get your chocolate wedding fountains and Gatorade and every other color and flavor and taste. You do not want these spraying you in the eyes, or let alone entering your lacrimal punctum and nasal cavities, tear ducts, etc., and entering your lungs. This is not going to be helpful to your first aid needs. We need to ensure that these lines are getting cleared out. We're keeping the water nice and clear for first aid emergency use. And otherwise, this is potentially what we could be looking at. Okay. Now, on an annual basis, I highly suggest using something like you see here on the right. This is an ANSI checklist from Haws. This is one of our versions. And it details everything that must be checked on an annual basis. You need to do a full head-to-toe evaluation of the emergency equipment to ensure that everything aligns with the standard. And I'm going to walk you through that as the core of this presentation. Okay. Now this a checklist will be included in the follow-up material, so you have that and you can share it and print it and do whatever it is that you need to do with that. They're incredibly handy. That will bring us to poll question number 2.
All right, thanks, Justin. Now that those images are forever burned into our minds, poll question number 2 asks, who currently tests your emergency equipment? Your choices are imaginary drum roll, company personnel, third party, me, no one, or not applicable. Wow, you guys are killing it on the participation. Thank you guys so much. Give you guys a few more seconds for any last minute submissions. And we'll go ahead and end the poll. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Moving on, I want to talk about the tools that you'll need to get this done. What do you need to bring with you, right? So on the right, I put our example. Here at Haws, this is our 9011 test kit. We wanted something straightforward, fits in a bucket, take it with you, get it all done. But what you'll need in general, and what is most commonly included in kits like this, is number one, a tape measure. You need a tape measure. There are many, many things that you're going to use that tape measure for, and I'll walk you through them. You need an eyewash gauge. This was designed by it's included in the standard. There's a photo. They told us exactly how to make this thing, and it ensures anthropometrically that your eyes will align with the eyewash itself. And I'll show you how to use that as well. 5-gallon bucket with the 2-gallon water line marked. You'll need a shower sock and a pole because they call it a drench shower for a reason, and you definitely don't want to wing it. You definitely use a shower sock and a pole to funnel that water. We want to collect it because we have a couple tasks that we want to accomplish with it. And I'll walk you through those as well. You'll need a thermometer because we got to check the temperature. We want to know, and I'll give you some insight into when and how to do that as well. And then lastly, but not least, that checklist. Make sure you are not missing anything. Okay. Go top to bottom, measure it all once a year and ensure that you have full compliance at the unit. Now, to get into the actual requirements. Number one, unit has to be accessible within 10 seconds, 55 feet. Now, both of these measurements are very important. 10 seconds is about the amount of time where you will start to suffer more greater effects from whatever it is that you were exposed to. Within 10 seconds, if you manage to get to an eye wash or a safety shower, activate it successfully, and start rinsing off, there's a much higher likelihood that you're either going to decrease the amount of time in the hospital. You're going to increase your survivability and things of that nature. So 10 seconds is what we want max. The 55 feet is just a nice measurable distance. And about the average amount of distance that each of us can travel in 10 seconds on average. Okay. Now that path does not have to be a straight line. Okay. You can have a corner or two in there, right? Ideally, it's as close to the hazard as possible, right? We want immediate access to that life-saving water, which is ideal. But as long as it is within that range, it is considered compliant. Now that path has to be free of obstructions. We cannot, I mean, these are a little more on the silly side of things that I have found out there in the field. But if you can imagine for a second having to clear off rat traps, I don't even want to think about that. The one in the top right, digging your fingers in there while you don't have very good use of your eyes. But there are constantly tool carts and forklifts and all kinds of stuff in the way of this equipment because it is used so infrequently, so rarely. Most employees see them as just, hey, yeah, the eye wash is over there. We've never used it. Stack the barrels up in front of the eye wash. But these have to remain free and clear of obstructions, and we have to ensure that on a regular basis. Your weekly check is a great time to ensure that is happening. Now, it also has to be located on the same level as a hazard. We can't have stairs, containment berms, and things of that nature between us and that life-saving equipment because, well, a couple things. One, we're panicking, okay? If there's nobody out there that's going to have a clear, perfectly calm persona about them when they've been exposed to caustic, corrosive, or otherwise hazardous irritants and things of that nature, you're going to freak out a little bit. Okay. And you're going to want to move quick. And we cannot have an obstacle course between us and the equipment. This is incredibly important. Also, you may not have, again, very good use of your eyesight. And it is important that we do not create these obstacles in between. There is an exception to this, but I'll cover it a little bit later, closer to the end. The area needs to be well lit, and it needs to be easily identifiable with highly visible signage. This is important for the facts that I just mentioned, right? Panic, poor eyesight, things of that nature. I need to be able to identify this thing. But there's something to it beyond that too. If you are reporting to work and this thing stands out like a sore thumb, the position and location of it will constantly be refreshed in your mind. So make sure they're well lit. They have signage that easily identifies these. You can imagine the ones here on the right. If you're just out there working, these blend a little too well into their environments or may not stick out clearly as emergency equipment. They have to be able to do so. Okay, so check for signage, check for excellent lighting in the area. It also has to deliver flushing fluid for a full 15 minutes. Now, to test, run the equipment for 15 minutes. Now, Some of you are probably thinking, well, I have a clean room, or I have like a hospital hallway or something like that. How do I catch all this water? What do I do with it? And that is the kind of the dilemma. Running a piece of equipment for 15 minutes, you're dumping, 200 to 300, depending on the make of the equipment, 200 to 300 gallons of water somewhere, and that is not going to be great. That is going to make an absolute mess. Or you can't get a tank into the area, etc. So one of the things that I highly suggest, if you can run it, do it. Okay. But if you can't, test your facility's capabilities to run that equipment for a full 15 minutes. Go check the hot water tank size, the supply line, things of that nature, and gauge your facility's capabilities to run it. Do your tests, use the test kit, capture that water. But if you cannot do a full, just blast it for 15 minutes, go test your facility's capabilities to ensure that that can run for 15 minutes. Okay. Now, outlets. All outlets have to be protected from airborne contaminants. Okay. A couple examples here on the right. We're talking about dust covers. Okay. On plumbed piece of emergency equipment, it's usually a cap or a cover, something that is going to be put into place to protect the holes of the eye face wash, etc. Or on a portable, it's the cap, the fill cap on the tank. And you can have a great device like this, like a dust cover that covers the entire thing, which is super handy. The thing is that dust, particulates, process, debris, and things like that can clog the heads of the device and make it less effective, and we can't have that. Or potentially, if you, I don't know why you do it, but put your face in place and then activate the equipment, you have the potential to blow all of that into your face, and that's not going to be pleasant. The dust covers must be self-removing. This is very important. Okay, even that jacket you see there in the video on the right, as you grab that green handle and you pull it down, the entire eyewash activates. If I have to stop and completely remove a dust cover by hand, then activate the emergency equipment, that is non-compliant. Cannot have that. Okay. On activation of the equipment, the dust cover should remove itself. That's very important. This is my buddy McDean. He runs our production floor, and that shower is incredibly cold. Plus, he wore a white t-shirt that day, which is a real flex. But this is demonstrating something incredibly important. Okay, you can see as he moves to the emergency equipment and he activates the pull rod and the push flag, the equipment is going from off state to on state in 1 second or less. And as he activates the equipment, he has his hands free. This is incredibly important. We cannot keep our hands on the activation. If you have self-closing valves and equipment that you have to handle constantly while you are having your first aid emergency, that is non-compliant. Okay, I'll talk you through some other situations, including other types of equipment in there that may kind of leave a loophole around there, but the equipment, once activated, has to stay open indefinitely until manually shut off. Okay, and we have to have water immediately at the heads of the device. So activate the equipment, ensure that flow is in 1 second or less, and that there are no additional steps. Now, this is what you're watching out for. Okay, these are self-closing, spring-activated valves that will self-close. I can rub my belly and pat my head at the same time. I can't activate the shower, activate the eye wash, hold both of them open, remove my clothing, hold my eyes open, and do all of these things at the same time. That's not possible. So stay open valves, incredibly important. The other thing you want to watch out for from a hands-free operation standpoint is the photo on the far right, the big photo. Not only is the eye wash facing the wall, which would require me to grab it and point it at my face to utilize it as an eye wash, it is really far off the ground. The valve type is not a stay open valve. You'll have to squeeze that the entire time, which is non-compliant. And to boot, there's an electrical outlet just to the left of it, which makes me a little uncomfortable. But watch out for situations where you have to manually activate and hold the device. You need your hands for other things. You want to be able to peel those eyelids back and things of that nature. Okay. Now, each of these pieces of equipment have a minimum amount of water that they must deliver. Okay, for an eye wash, it's 0.4 gallons per minute, or 1.5 liters for my homies up north. Okay, flow to an eye face wash must be a minimum of 3 gallons per minute, or 11.4 liters. The flow for a shower, 20 gallons or 75.7 liters. Simply combine these depending on what type of equipment it is that you're dealing with. So if you have a shower and eye face wash combination unit, which is the pinnacle of full body decontamination, that's never a wrong answer. You would need a minimum of 23 gallons per minute plumb to that piece of emergency equipment. That is what is required as a bare minimum. Okay. There is no upper limit to this amount of water. However, you will find many manufacturers out there that are not utilizing flow controls or at all or improperly. And we have to consider victim comfort, right? We may have corrosive materials on our body. Our skin may not be in the best shape and things of that nature. And our eyes are sensitive. If I have an immense amount of water spraying at my face, it is going to be incredibly uncomfortable. So we need to focus on a controlled flow, something that is gentle yet thorough across our entire body. We do not want gaps in this spray. Okay. So as you can see here, shower heads going. We have an aggressive yet rain-like dispersed shower that is completely covering the user. This is wildly important. Okay. We do not want a jet of water or for it to feel like we're underneath a waterfall. Right. That'll peel you like an onion. That was awful. I don't ever want to say that again. But if you can imagine and put your feet in the shoes of somebody in that situation, that's what it's going to feel like. And we cannot have that. Also, that controlled flow will help to ensure that the victim stays in the emergency equipment for the allotted time, which I'll cover here in a little bit. Now, to give you some examples of a high, too much, and low, too little flow rate, you have the extreme example on the left. This is injurious, right? There's no chance that you could put your face in that for 15 minutes. This is going to be harmful, and it's universal, okay? If you don't have flow controls or depending on the type of equipment that you've chosen, if it is damaged or improperly maintained, you may get an injurious flow that can be quite hazardous. Okay, we need to watch out for this. I call these ceiling tile washers. And too little, if you don't have enough flow, pick your favorite eye. You're only going to get one or the other, especially in these old bullhorn style eye wash systems. The water path will prefer one over the other. You're not going to have enough flow and pressure to supply both. Now, the flushing fluid, to ensure that it is working correctly, we have to use a gauge. Okay. And the gauge requirement is that the flushing fluid shall cover the areas between the interior and exterior of a gauge at some point less than 8 inches. I'm going to explain this very clearly because the gauge very frequently gets misused. Okay. What you want, so this is our 9015, that's our gauge. Super simple, slides in your back pocket, great little device, and excellent if you're doing an inspection. You definitely want to have this with you. Okay. Now, the way we use this, measure 8 inches up from the head of the device. Place the gauge there and slowly lower the gauge. What we are looking for, and I'll give you the overhead view here in just a second, but we're looking for the eye wash streams to align with the eye circles on the gauge. This means anthropometrically, or in other words, just like on average, based on the human body, that those will align with our eyes. Okay, those will meet our eyeballs as we utilize the equipment. Now, the example in the bottom right-hand corner, this is what you want to avoid. Obviously, a gauge wouldn't meet. This is an extreme example, and it looks like soup, but I wanted to give you a more extreme example so you understand that the right side would be way too low. The left side is too low. Again, pick your favorite eye. This isn't working correctly. This is what the gauge helps us to accomplish. Because some of these do not look like they would meet gauge guidelines, but you have to use it correctly. Any point between 8 inches and 0, if it aligns with the eyewash streams and fully fills those eye circles, it's compliant. Okay. Now, this does not measure if it aligns at some point over 8 inches, that's also a problem. Okay. And the spray pattern can be above 8 inches. That is fine. That's a separate measurement, and I'll cover that with you. Now, to give you the overhead, we're dropping the gauge into place, and you can see the water is fully filling those eye circles. Dead center. That's what we want. That's what we're looking for. Okay. Now, the thing you want to be cautious of with the flow is that the actual flow coming from the eye wash or eye face wash does not exceed 53 inches above the floor. That's where we're looking for from a height perspective of the actual flow. It cannot exceed that height. Okay. The top of the flow pattern must be between 33 and 53 inches. And that is, again, anthropometrically ensuring that on average, the majority of us are going to be able to utilize the equipment properly. Okay. And it is going to be in a range that will be usable. Also, there at the bottom, this is commonly overlooked, specifically on lab equipment, deck mounted, hospital, pharmaceutical, lab, those types of situations where you have a deck mounted eye face wash. The heads of the device have to be free of obstruction by 6 inches. So be cautious of placing it too close to the faucet or other devices that are on your countertop, but anything at all, really. So you have to ensure those heads are clear by 6 inches around each of the eye face wash nozzles. Okay, which is why we like our Axion there in comparison. You see a dual-headed system, and then a single-headed system. It limits the amount of space that has to be free and clear for your head and your face to fit into this area. We don't want any obstructions. Just use a tape measure, measure out from the heads, and you'll be just fine. Now, to explain the bucket and the shower sock, you got to test the shower. And if you're new to this, that's the scary part, because you don't want to take a dripping wet walk through your facility. I have, and it's about as embarrassing as you think it would be. Just a surprise baptism, right? So what you want to do is get your 5-gallon bucket, your water with your 2-gallon water line mark. This is a very important. Get your shower sock and pole and your thermometer. Place the thermometer in the bottom of the bucket right away. Okay, that's just going to give us our temperature at the end. Place the shower sock around the shower head and run the bottom into the bucket unless you want soggy loafers. Ensure that it is fully within the lip of the top of the bucket. Activate the eye wash or the eye face wash if one is present. This equipment is designed to work all at the same time for one person, which means during this shower head test, we're going to wash the eye wash or eye face wash and ensure that we are not starving that eye wash or eye face wash when we activate the shower. Okay, ensuring there's enough water for all of this to run at the same time. Activate the shower for 6 seconds. Do your 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, etc., all the way to 6 seconds, and deactivate the shower. We want to check that the 2-gallon water level mark is on the bucket has been met. This is just telling us, to put it in simple terms, when you go to the hospital, the nurse will not count your pulse for a full 60 seconds. That's what we're doing. They're doing the math. Okay, so 6 seconds, 2 gallons is 60 seconds and 20 gallons. Okay, we're just timesing it by 10. So got to test that shower head. And this does have to be done on a weekly basis if one is present. Now, the shower flow pattern is pretty simple. 20 inches wide, it's 60 inches above the surface that the victim is standing on. We want to ensure that that flow pattern is meeting the victim shoulder to shoulder, completely across their body. And that's what where this measurement, this average comes from, 20 inches wide, 60 inches above the floor. Okay, so you can see both examples there on the right. We're looking for that starvation, not enough water supplied here. And in this case, you want to look at the valves attached to the system. What is the supply line size? Where is it starving? Where is it? How is it not getting enough water? Maybe you need a booster pump or to reconfigure your supply lines. Okay, but starvation is a very common issue. The center, from the very center of the flow pattern, you also have to have 16 inches from any obstruction. So if you're looking for any kind of guidance on free and clear space in front of the emergency equipment, it's 32 inches. So you're measuring out from the center, 16 inches from the center of the column, giving us 32 inches in both for the full width. Okay. And that's just to ensure there's no obstructions in there, piping, etc., that running into that space. You can see my buddy Bill, who recently retired here. I'm super sad about it. We miss him greatly. Measuring the column. This is all you're going to do. 20 inches wide. Measure up 60 inches. Measure 20 inches across. Make sure it's meeting it, and you're good to go. Now, the shower head has to be 82 to 96 inches above the surface floor of the user. If it is too low, the flow pattern will be too narrow. If it is too high, the flow pattern will be too wide and not as effective. That's it. Use your tape measure, measure up to the outlet of the water, the nozzle, wherever the water is exiting the device. That's what you're measuring to. That has to be between 82 to 96 inches. The pull rod also has its own measurements. This is very important. It only has a maximum height. Okay, 69 inches from the floor. No more than that. That's ensuring that the shorter amongst us are fully capable of reaching that pull rod and activating the equipment. Okay. And we can make it as long as we want, as long as we don't want it colliding with the floor or anything. But the pull rod can be longer, and certainly consider that if you have any need for that inside of your facility. Employees that may need the shorter pull rod for activation is definitely something you want to consider. Now, combination units. As you see here on the right, shower, eye face, fully aligned, focused on one victim. This is the intention of the product. Okay, you will find, unfortunately, in some facilities where the plumber was like, oh, let's face the eye face wash this way, and we'll throw the shower this way. So if they hurt their skin, they can go over here. If they get something in their eyes, they can go over there. That's for one person. And that's the intent of it. So ensure your combination units, the components are capable of operating simultaneously and they are positioned for one user. Okay. So, and simply check their alignment, make sure they're aligned, fully activate that eye face wash or eye wash, and ensure there's no starvation to the eye wash when the shower is activated. Okay. The shower wants a lot of water. And if you have a brand or you ordered your equipment on Wish or Temu, you definitely want to check because they may not be utilizing flow controls correctly and creating back pressure that both supply the eye face wash and the shower simultaneously. You will see starvation, and it is a very sneaky piece of compliance because many people skip testing the shower because it's a mess. And sometimes if you're not good at it and you're nervous about it, you might make a mess. So sometimes they'll skip it. So don't do that. Now, shutoff valves, very commonly placed immediately adjacent to the shower or eye face wash. These have to be locked into the open position, okay? So that maintenance has to remove the device, shut it off, perform whatever maintenance they were going to do, go back, open the valve, and then re-lock it open. This is to ensure that willy-nilly somebody doesn't accidentally turn off the system and deprive somebody of that life-saving water in an emergency. So trace that line back, double check your valves, and if they are wildly out of reach, you're good. Okay. I think the primary focus of this is really those immediately adjacent valves. You definitely want to check those and lock them open. I can't tell you how many facilities I've been in, from food manufacturing, pulp and paper. I've been in some gross places, guys. And I can tell you just about everywhere I have found shut off valves. Okay. So be cautious. I call this the duh section of the standard. You definitely want to teach employees where the equipment is and how to activate it. This is incredibly important. Quiz them. Make it random. Go out to an employee and ask them, hey, where's your nearest piece of emergency equipment? And walk me through, without showing me, how you would have to activate it. This is important. You will see weird tests, weird old YouTube videos about like throwing goggles on with petroleum jelly in them so that it doesn't feels like it's simulating an incident. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just go ask them. It's a much nicer way, and they won't trip. Now, where you might have the possibility of freezing conditions, the unit must be freeze protected. Okay. Check your local weather patterns. Many people ask me, well, how do I maintain that? How do I if I have freezing months, right? When is the best time for me to check the temperature of my equipment? I highly suggest that you schedule your annual inspections when your weather is at its worst, whether that's cold or that's hot. Test in its most extremes so that you know what potentially is going to happen. Okay. And then plan appropriately. All manufacturers, particularly us, you'll see here on the screen, we have the solutions to that type of weather. And we want to make sure that you are not dealing with an icicle or something that is baking hot. Okay. So check your local weather patterns, plan appropriately. It also has to deliver tepid flushing fluid. 60 degrees Fahrenheit to 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 16 degrees Celsius to 38 degrees Celsius. Within those ranges, you are getting, it's not a hot, warm shower, but it's warm enough that it is going to be comfortable for the victim to stay in. And it's going to be cool enough that it'll be non-reactive with chemicals that may be volatile with hot water. Okay. Also, the hotter the water, the worse it is going to feel on what will potentially be open wounds. So having a comfortable water range will help the victim to stay in there. So look for equipment like you see here on the right, whether it's electric, instantaneous heaters, steam heaters, mixing valves, things of that nature. This is a very important part of the standard because if it is too cold, too hot, you're going to force them out. But also, if it is too cold, you risk hypothermia, cold shock, cardiac arrest. We are already potentially damaging our outermost layer of protection and insulation on our body, and we are going to bleed heat very quickly. Okay, we're going to lose it, and possibly one of the most important things you can manage during your first aid experience is being able to communicate with first responders, being able to communicate with the people that are trying to help you. Okay. And with hyperthermia, if it's too hot, you have possible heat stroke, confusion, scalding of the soft tissue, and of course that negative reaction with chemicals. So be aware of what the temperature ranges are and keep it within that range. Also, Legionella's nasty stuff. Okay. And unfortunately, it dips within that range, and you need to be ensuring that you're flushing these things out weekly. Okay. Really dump some water out of them. Now, this slide, this one's a little rough. Supplemental equipment has its own section in the ANSI standard. It's important equipment. Okay, many facilities use this stuff incorrectly. You have, I know, I see your emojis in the corner. Thank you. But this is, unfortunately, some of these are mine, and some of these, you find on those dark places on the internet. But supplemental equipment squeeze bottles are great, but some facilities, that's all they'll have. This is only supplemental. You have to have squeeze bottles with a permanently plumbed 15-minute capable Eyewash, etc. in your facility. Okay. And I can't tell you how often I go into facilities and I find this, right? You got the burn it out option over on the left there. I think that's toilet bowl cleaner on the second one. The third one, honestly, if I'm being real honest with you, that one doesn't bother me so much. Biltmore, take the edge off and you got an Eyewash bottle. But in all seriousness, you need to make sure you're not replacing these with anything weird. The middle one's frozen. That was on the back of a truck, completely frozen. You got the double big gulp option. Uh, Not great. And then you have like it's come too far. Like, you know, Eyewash solution ain't gonna cut it. You got the spoon and the somebody's leftover lunch on the knife, or I hope, I don't know. But these are only intended to supplement equipment. Otherwise, if you find a facility where they have both plumbed equipment and supplemental, that's a sign of a very healthy safety environment. Those are important because you want immediate relief so that you can travel and go to the permanently plumbed stuff. Okay. Now, I told you early in the presentation, we have an exception to the change in level, stairs, etc. That's what this is. If you have a booth, some sort of enclosed booth type of equipment, you are allowed one single step up into that enclosure. Okay, that is not considered to be an obstruction. That's not for any piece of equipment. It's only for a booth style piece of equipment. Now, doors are also something I get asked about a lot. Now, a door does not constitute an obstruction as long as it meets the following requirements. It has to be non-locking. The door has to open in the direction of the emergency equipment. The hazard has to be non-corrosive, and it has to be push bar or panic bar operated. If all of these things are true, the door is completely fine. Okay. And you are allowed to have that. But the whole purpose, especially with the corrosive thing, is that if you're exposed to something and have to navigate that or move through the space, we don't want to extend the amount of obstructions or space and time until you get to that equipment. It should be as close to immediately available as possible, which is when doors don't really become a good idea. But there's lots of situations out there, manufacturing-wise, where doors are going to be required. Or curtains. Curtains are fine. Also, you can move through those very easily. That'll bring us to poll question number 3.
All right. Poll question number 3 asks, what are your primary ANSI compliance issues? Please check all that apply, but please do not answer if not applicable. You guys crushed it on the participation last time, so I'm going to see if you guys can beat that. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it. We always like to go back and then nerd out on all the responses that you guys give us. So it's very appreciated.
I'm in there in the attendance every time. I'm always scoping out, like, who attended? Who's in there?
Yeah, we recognize some of you are reoccurring people. Alrighty, I'll go ahead and wrap up this poll question. Thank you guys so much for all of the submissions.
This is also going to be where Samantha takes over.
Yes, thank you. It is my time to shine. You guys can have a little break from Justin's voice. And we are going to go over some best practices. We've kind of been doing this for a very long time. And over the years, we compiled all that knowledge, as I just mentioned, and we put together some best practices for victim comfort. So make sure that you remove your contacts and do not rub your eyes. Any chemicals that get in or any dust particles will go under the contacts. So it's really, really important that you take those off. Make sure to disrobe completely, including your socks and shoes, which brings me to please provide privacy curtains. This is often a horrible day for the victim under the shower or the unit. So we really want to make sure that we're providing some decency to them. Next is do not remove PPE before entering the equipment. It's there for a reason, so make sure the unit is activated before you take that off. Be cautious while assisting to not contaminate yourself or others, so shouting directions is very useful in those situations. Ensure correct type of signage. You would hate to be looking for a combination unit and you get there and it's only a shower. I would be very upset. Alrighty, and then the next one, I shouldn't have to say this, but clearly someone did it, so I have to. Be cautious of
Many did
it. Someone out there did it, so make sure that you're not putting any showers or equipment next to electrical units. And then locate other first aid equipment nearby and then make sure to clean your equipment regularly. Make it a safety station that all of your employees know where to go to in case anything happens. All right, and as silly as this video is, the Nard dog from The Office is killing it in his technique. As you can see, he's really peeling those eyeballs back. So it's exactly what you want to do. even though he's screaming the entire time. Alrighty, and then another part of the ANSI standard, this one is the ANSI Z358.1-2017, and this goes over appropriate hazard color coding. And then red will signal danger or stop, yellow is any caution, orange is warning, green is the universal color of safety, which is the Haws, one of the Haws colors, so you guys are in luck. We are in compliance there. And then anything blue will be policies, and then any other color can be chosen however your heart desires. Okay, and then we are going to go over the truth about compliance rates, and we'll give you a few resources to help you get back into compliance. Here at Haws, we run site surveys. We've been running these for a very long time, and over those years we've compiled all the data to see the percentage of units that are actually meeting full compliance, and that's what you see on the chart up there on the screen. So 8 out of 10 attendees believe that over half their equipment meets the ANSI standards, when in fact 78% of emergency equipment is non-compliant, which is not great. That is the huge red slice that you see sticking out. These are non-compliant performance-related issues, and that's when you see any injurious or uneven flow rates, starvation of the unit, etc. And then the little 10% on the chart accounts for non-compliant other, and that's any issue not related to performance. That could be missing or incorrect signage like we just went over, dust covers weren't on the unit, anything like that would fall under that. And then overall, we see only 12% of units are actually meeting full compliance. So clearly and unfortunately, a lot can go wrong when it comes to compliance, but as the superheroes say, no need to fear. That's what our site surveys are for. Every superhero says that, right? And the best part about our site surveys is that they're completely free, which is great. You'll get a full one-day inspection completed by professionals who are trained in the ANSI standard. And keep in mind, restrictions will apply just depending on how many units are at your facility, but we'll ensure to do as many as we can in that day. And you will also receive a full inspection report that will include photos and evidence of all of the non-compliant areas we find. So we'll have proof of all the errors, as well as an executive summary chart. And then any recommendations will be given in that report, so you'll have solutions to the problems that we find. We won't leave you high and dry. A really great perk is that you get access to a subject matter expert who will debrief you on those findings. And this is all completely confidential, so your secret's safe with us. We are great secret keepers. And the whole service is completely free. It's an incredible program, and it's going to give you the insight so you can meet your full compliance. And if anything I just said sparks interest in you, this poll question might be for you. And it asks, would you be interested in a free site survey of your existing emergency equipment for ANSI compliance? Your choices are yes, no, or not applicable. Thank you everyone for your participation. And just so you know, if you do click yes, we will be reaching out to you with assistance on that. So make sure you get it in if that sounds even remotely up your alley. Alrighty, everyone, we'll give you a few more seconds and then I will end the poll. All right, and if you thought those site surveys were cool, I might just blow your mind with this next one, and that is our Haws services. This is a great program for all you busy folks. I have a feeling there might be quite a few of you on here. And there's probably a lot going on in your facilities for whatever reason. Maybe you're short-staffed, your to-do list is piling up, too many units to test, whatever you may be juggling, Haws Services comes into your life and fixes all of your issues in terms of compliance. Just like how you outsource maintenance on AEDs, first aid kits, or fire extinguishers, even your toilet paper, I highly recommend outsourcing for all your emergency equipment needs. Use them as a resource so you can focus on the things that you actually need to get done. So you may be asking, what does this life-changing program include, Sam? Haws Services will send a qualified professional to you. They're trained to work on any piece of emergency equipment from any manufacturer. So if you have Haws, Speakman, Guardian, all of them, you can have a mix of them. We will get it done. They will also come out to any type of facility, so no worries there. Haws Services will also provide a comprehensive site evaluation with training on how to test your equipment. The Haws Service techs are amazing. I can't stress that enough. They are experts in their fields. They're not only going to give you the evaluation and training, but they're also going to fix all the issues they find, which is probably the best part of it all. And the services that they offer are next level. They'll do weekly and annual testing for you, preventative maintenance and contracts, repairs and upgrades, startup commissioning on new equipment if you're looking into more complicated units like our skids, for example. And as mentioned, they also offer online training and certification as well as warranty service. And if that sounds up your alley at all, you can either visit us at hawsco.com, or if you say yes to this next poll question, we will reach out to you and help get that arranged. And it asks, would you be interested in learning more about how Haws services can help achieve ANSI compliance? Thank you guys so much. And this is the last poll question of the day, so feel free to just click your mouse like crazy. Alrighty, everyone, thank you so much. Give you a few more seconds for any last minute submissions. Thank you so much.
And that is going to bring us towards the end of the webinar. I'm going to hang out for a while. And if you want to hang out, I greatly appreciate it. You're super welcome to. We're going to cover some questions and answers. We're just going to hang out, do some questions. I will provide the answers, but I want to leave you with a list of contact information. That's my contact information in the top left-hand corner. You're never bugging me. I like you. I like you a lot. Feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to help. Also, reach out and connect with me on LinkedIn. I do a lot of safety-focused hydration, ADA compliance, things of that nature, and I post some very useful things on a fairly regular basis. So I'd really appreciate it. So reach out to me on LinkedIn. That would be great. Our Haws customer service line is there. That's their phone number, their toll-free number, their email, if you'd rather do that. We have a top-notch customer service team. They're highly knowledgeable, very useful. Please keep that information. That's the catch-all. If you have any sort of question, definitely reach out to them. They also have a live chat function on www.hawsco.com that you can use if you'd rather just do a quick chat with them. I would also like to, and Sam, if you'll drop that link in the chat, I would like to invite everybody to a follow-up webinar that I'm going to host. Right? We gave you all the information in this webinar about what could go wrong, what could happen, and the Z358.1 standard in this webinar. What I'd like to do, and I plan to do on this next webinar, if you're free, is please join me. I'm going to cover what the safety solutions look like to solve those issues, how they can be used, where they can go, how do you find that information, what do I do, what are my next steps? Okay, I'll also include example facilities where I'll walk you through the mindset and the frame of thinking that you have to utilize to fully equip a facility correctly. It'll be a super fun webinar. I'll cover lots, and you'll get to know Haws in even better fashion. So please use that link. It will also be included in the follow-up materials, which you'll get not long after the webinar, I hope. So be looking for those, and go to hawsco.com. If you want to sign up for our e-newsletter, it is a very useful source of information on upcoming webinars, new product information, and that sort of thing. So with that, Sam, hit me with the first question. We'll hang out for a while. We'll answer some questions, and if you want to hang out, that's great.
Alrighty, sounds good. This one's a little long, so bear with me. Could you please send ANSI/ISEA Z358.1 shower and eyewash compliance fact sheet, agenda, and any materials that we can distribute to our teams prior to our February 4th class, any chance we/the Honolulu Board of Water Supply could coordinate an in-house training and demo to focus on safety and maintenance of our shower and eyewash systems at our facilities? Is there a local compliance representative over and above a sales representative in Hawaii? Could you please provide telephone or email contact information?
You had me at Honolulu. I need you to rephrase that. I need you to email that directly to my boss, and I'll come do it. Um, so we have a local representative. We have local representatives in most states across the United States, and of course across Canada. And that representation is well trained and can help with those sorts of trainings. We also have a Haws services arm that can visit and not only walk you through the compliance basics, but show you a lot of that maintenance training and things of that nature, answer questions and whatnot. And not joking, I'm usually pretty open to hitting the field, and I am a field marketing manager after all, and doing those types of events. So I'll reach out and we'll see about what that might entail and how we might be able to help you in one way or the other. So, what's the next one?
All right, yeah, let's get Justin to Hawaii, please. Alrighty, next question. What do you do about fluctuating temperatures from seasonal weather on plumbed eyewash stations and the requirement for tepid water to be 60 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit?
Yeah, that's a great question. So from a temperature standpoint, if you have you obviously have hot and cold seasons. Some of you have more hot and some of you have more cold. What I mentioned earlier is testing during those more extreme months. Many equipment that is right for one season is right for the other as well. For instance, 8300 FP from Haws. That's a buried valve combination unit for outdoors. The water sits below the freeze line and runs underground, both protecting it from freezing and protecting it from extreme hot. So the water doesn't bake in the line. That goes for the 8317 CTFP as well. That is freeze protected down to negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit year round from freezing, but also the jacket and insulation will help to keep the unit from getting too hot for great longer periods of the day. We also have reflection jackets for portables. We have heating jackets for portables. We have so many different solutions to drop in place. Just look at what your most extreme climate conditions are and reach out to us too, and we're happy to help you discover what that solution is. So just pay attention to what the extremes are, plan for that, and then there are other ways for you to plan beyond that, like burying the lines, fully insulating them, providing shade over the emergency equipment, and things of that nature. What's the next one?
Next question we have asks, how often do you need to audit or verify the water pressure of the plumbed eyewash/shower system?
Oh, okay. Well, so weekly, we have to be doing our tests weekly, and you're really doing that verification by ensuring compliance, right? If it is working correctly, we're hitting gauge guidelines, and we're getting full activation from the shower, we know our pressure is correct. So on a weekly basis, go out there, test that plumbed emergency equipment. Again, there's no need for the portables to activate that. It's only a visual inspection. But on that plumbed equipment, use the eyewash gauge, use the shower sock and the bucket to ensure that the entire unit is working correctly. You're getting correct pressure and it is fully meeting gauge guidelines, and you'll know that your pressure is good. But on a weekly basis, you have to check. On an annual basis, you may want to include things like checking the actual PSI and pressure of the system. Ours works anything from 30 to 90 PSI, which is pretty extreme. But we have flow controls integrated into our equipment as standard, so it should go into most systems seamlessly. What else you got?
I hope you cover the portable eyewash stations and the requirements for them as well, the ones that are mounted to the wall. More of a statement, request than a question.
Oh, okay, cool, done. I did that. But just as a just as a little add-on, portables are an incredibly useful addition to facilities. There are many portions of facilities that don't have good plumbed water or enough to supply a piece of emergency equipment, or they're maybe too remote and things of that nature. So be sure to fully integrate that type of equipment in your facility and fully accessorize them. Ensure that you're utilizing the correct solutions to preserve the water, catch tanks, use portable carts, things of that nature, all super handy. And I hope you found the core of the content useful, as far as testing and everything that applies to plumbed emergency equipment also applies to portable equipment. It's all the same.
Alrighty, and then the next question is, asks if there is a self-contained eyewash unit that has a solution that doesn't expire for 2 years. Is a weekly inspection still needed?
Ha! Ours lasts for 3 years. It's not fully contained though. So we have a self-contained portable, and it's a 3-year drop-in device. But just to give you a comparison with what we have to do and what they have to do too, if you have a portable that also has a one of those bags of water you have to have shipped to you, and you're installing that equipment has to be fully tested on an annual basis. That portable has to be activated once a year. Okay. Now, the weekly, you don't have to activate it, but annually, you have to run the unit. You have to ensure the eyewash heads are functioning correctly, that you're getting a full 15 minutes out of it, all of that stuff. So if you're buying bags of water, and you're not doing that annual test, then you're missing a beat. Okay. Ours, for instance, the reason we stuck to gravity fed units is that we are capable of flushing it, running it for an emergency as many times as we want. And we just fill the tank back up because our preservative stick, the 9083, that's good for 3 years. You just throw it right back in the tank, and it constantly ionizes and positively charges the water, preventing any and all growth in there. So if you're using that, that has to be activated once a year. So be cautious there. All right. Any others?
Yeah, there's one right here. Is there a certain color that the shower and eyewash station should be?
Oh, yeah. Sam covered that. That's Z535.1 compliance. Also an ANSI standard and very important. That's color coding for your facilities. Green. Green is the location of first aid, of safety. It's universal. Everybody knows green is what you run towards. That's safety. So all of our equipment is color coded green and offset sometimes by yellow just to highlight it against some backgrounds. But overwhelmingly green. Green is the right answer, which is why we stick to Z535.1 compliance for all our emergency equipment.
Alrighty, and then we'll do one more question. Are
Okay.
there different testing requirements based on facility types? For example, schools versus manufacturing?
Ooh, uh, there is one difference that I don't normally cover, um, and it's included in the Z358.1 standard. The testing requirements remain the same. You have to test your equipment, it has to be on a weekly basis. You have to do an annual inspection, and that's universal. But there is one difference, for schools in particular. There's an exception in the standard that says that self-closing valves to emergency equipment are allowed in schools, if it is pre-approved by their safety team and the administration, because kids are turds and they might activate the equipment and walk away and do lots of damage to a school that can totally afford to replace all that drywall and stuff. So there are provisions in the standard to allow for educational facilities to include self-closing valves. However, that does greatly increase the difficulty during a first aid emergency for that victim. So regardless, we prefer stay open valves, so they're in compliance with everything else, because that life is incredibly important to us, and we think that's very important. So we don't usually talk about that little bit of exception, but that's the only difference. Otherwise, universally, weekly tests and annual tests.
Alrighty, I said
And
that was the question, but we do have one really good one if you'd like to answer it, Justin.
oh yeah, hit me.
All right. How do you handle pre-existing drench hoses? Can they be tested and treated as current emergency eyewash stations, or do they need to be removed and replaced?
Oh, drench hoses are great. Drench hoses are good. They have to have the proper eye wash or eye face wash attachment. They have to have a stay open valve. They can't be self-closing. And they have to be positioned that once activated, you can fully release your hands and utilize the equipment. The drench hose is a nice addition because you're not always just going to get a couple drops of water or sorry, chemical in your eyes or on your face. If you have been exposed on your shin and that was it, or on your arm or whatever, being able to remove the unit, activate it, and fully rinse that area, that focused area, is super handy. A shower is always best, but a drench hose is an excellent addition, and very useful. And the reason why it's most commonly used in labs is for space, and those small type of exposures. So yeah, drench hoses are perfectly fine, but they have to meet all the requirements. And you definitely want a good eye wash or eye face wash head on that drench hose. If you don't, look into the Haws AX16 kit. That's a retrofit kit that will update the drench hose to include an eye face wash head, or to bring a non-compliant unit back into compliance. So if that is the last one, then Sam, I greatly appreciate everybody. Thank you very much for attending. If you hung on, thank you so much for hanging out with me and for getting some answers to your questions. I greatly appreciate it. I stare at those emojis every single time. I don't know what it is. I'm obsessed with them. But have a wonderful week. Remain compliant, share and spread this information with your colleagues, and reach out to us if you need anything. Here at Haws, we really take your site compliance very seriously and want to be a resource for you to reach that compliance. So please let us know if you need anything, and I hope to see you next week at the webinar at the Comprehensive Safety Solutions. So thank you so much for attending, and I'll catch you later. Bye, everybody.